Hello, my name is Connor. Kyou no doga de wa indigo la end no molting and dancing ni tsuite hanashitemasu. So this is the first official Indigo La End album that I'm talking about on my channel. And that's for a few reasons. One, hadn't come out around the time that I started, and I was like, hey, I'll just do the next one. Two, I don't like Indigo La End post 2016 really. I kind of tolerate their 2021 album, but in general, and I'm saying this on the record, on the internet, to forever be immortalized there, I'm something of an Enon Kawatini hater. And if you don't know who that is, this is the perfect video to introduce you to him. He is the lead singer of this band. He is also the lead singer of Gesu no Kiwami Otome. He is also the lead guitarist for the band Genie High. And he's just kind of everywhere in the Japanese pop rock mainstream consciousness. He writes a lot of songs for people. He puts a lot of people on, if you will. And he's just everywhere. You might be surprised that for someone like me who loves Japanese music so much that I don't like him. And yes, while that is true, I will admit, also on record, that he is probably one of the most prolific songwriters and music composers in Japan in the last like 15 years. And on top of that, I would also just say that generally he has a fantastic ear for music. At least he did earlier in his career, because in my opinion, his best days are kind of behind him. I like to call this the Kawatinification of the Japanese music industry, because his first album with this band came out in 2012, and that thing took off, and that changed the Japanese music landscape ever since. So for that reason too, you would probably think that I would like this band a lot more than I do. Well, it's my opinion that they became so popular and so prolific and so just synonymous with Japanese pop that they've really diluted Japanese pop as a whole. I feel like the band has no real identity anymore. They are just Japanese pop, and like that's it. Sure, you could maybe call them alt rock. They used to be indie rock, not anymore. They're really just J-pop as like a solid brick of like J-pop, and that's just what they are. So my summary for the band as a whole in the year 2025 is that Indigo La End is a band that makes pretty sounding music for pretty looking people. That is it. And by that I mean their sound is just bland and really devoid of any real substance for the most part. There are some onesie-twosie highlights that I will be talking about in this video too, but just kind of as a heads up, I needed to get all of that preamble out of the way so you know where I stand when I talk about and then finally rate this album too. So now let's talk about the actual album. I just feel like this is more of the same from this band that we've been getting over the past 9 years. I truly do not care how many fast-paced instrumentals and on ads. There is truly nowhere else I think this band can take their sound. They are just so similar to how they were. Even after switching out members and going off to do their own thing, coming back, it still all sounds just the exact same, and it's just so, like I said, a solid brick of J-pop with like no variation, no cracks, no little bubbles, just nothing. It's just always that same rectangular brick. I also feel like the band knows this, which is why there are so many spin-off bands too. Like I mentioned, Gesu no Kiwami Otome, Dadare, Genie High, and they're just everywhere because I think they're kind of tired of doing the same thing over and over and over. As we all know, that is the definition of insanity. So now let's talk about some of the good. I gotta say, I like the cover of this album. I'm also very happy to say that I think we might finally be at the stage in mainstream J-pop where putting an extremely beautiful model on the cover just isn't going to cut it anymore as far as making people want to pick up an album and like listen to it. For example, I feel like some of the worst offenders of this would be Indigo La End, of course, Radwimps to a certain degree, Vondi for sure, and also Hitsuji Bungaku to another certain degree, though I feel like they actually use the faces of the members fairly often, so I'm kind of gonna give them a pass there, but they're all like modeled up and pretty and like staged, so it's still in that realm, but at least it's the actual members, so I'm not gonna completely put them on the board for that one. I also really like the color choice and the artistry of the dancers' pose and look and just kind of general aesthetic, though it does look like they used another pretty looking model instead of maybe a figure skater. I don't know. I could be completely wrong about that, but it's possible. Another concession that I am willing to make is that I will say that this album sounds good. I mean, like, yeah, you know, of course it does. Even I was taken aback at just how complex some of the compositions are on this album, and they are just kind of beautiful to witness. I think the early 2010s indie rock pop version of Indigo La End would be very proud to see how far they've come, though also maybe a little discerning with that fondness as well. All that said, does that mean I like this album? Yeah. I think so. However, I'd like it if it was just an instrumental album. I'd like it way more in that case. And I also think I'd say that exact same thing about their more recent entries in their discography as well. As I mentioned, I was kind of a fan of that 2021 album, but nothing after. And there's been a lot after that, and it's just not for me. Another thing that I will give Anon credit for is he is still a fantastic songwriter, even if it does sound like he's kind of on autopilot a lot of the time. I think part of what makes me not like him is because I'm jealous to a certain degree, in that it just seems like these very well thought out lyrics just come out of him like with just all kinds of ease, and they are really actually kind of beautiful. So I want to talk about the opening lines here on the very first song on this album called Nacht, which of course in German means night. So this is how it starts. The breeze I felt that day is shaking my heart even now. You gave life to a new night, but that same season lives on. First off, I love that. That's fantastic. Next. My cold premonition pushed away the exaggerated image of you I had. I can't fix it. I can't fix it. Because everything I did was too slow. It turned into a night beyond imagination. You're not with me anymore, but even if you still think of me just one more time, even if I can be by your side again, I wouldn't be able to say it. At this exact moment, the Nacht refuses to be silent, and it's like you can't hear me be brave. So I really like that. That's really well written. I'm very unhappy to say that he's still got it, but I just don't think his like real singing chops are there anymore. I will say that, and I think that's a more consistent take that I can stick to. I don't really like Anon as a singer, but again, I plan to talk about that later in this video. And another thing that I really like about this section and this song is that he talks about it being a different night, okay? But he starts using the word night in Japanese, but then he switches to the German word for night, so it's like it is a different night. Yoru and Nacht, Japanese and German, it's still the same thing, but in different languages, right? So it's still understandable, but it's a whole different word. And I think that like concept and wordplay, that's really good. That's really, really good. Props for that one. That is a good song. But generally, I'm just so tired of Anon. It is crazy. I think Homie just needs to like stick to the guitar and give the vocals a rest. For example, I really like the instrumental from the song Ame ga Nodoru Kara, which means because the rain is dancing. But the lyrics are kind of cringe. So I want to go over the opening line and I want to say it in the way that he sings it, because that kind of adds to the kind of cringiness of it. So it goes hip, hop, man, ners. I can learn it all from scratch. Like, why you gotta sing it like that? And so the rest of the song is pretty much about Anon learning about other people through dance, which is like fine, but like, why'd you have to bring hip hop manners into this? And then he also ends the song by singing the word dancing 8 times. You really couldn't come up with anything other than the word dancing. And it's also the word dancing in English. It's just bad. I just think that is a 1 out of 10 song, frankly. There's another song on this album called Aisho Tokyo, which means Tokyo Melancholy. And I'm sorry, it just sounds so uninspired and dull. This is another song that I just absolutely abhor the chorus of, and I'd like to sing it for you now. This is exactly how it goes. Melancholic Tokyo night, oh, whoa, whoa. Melancholic Tokyo night, oh, whoa, whoa. Melancholic Tokyo night, oh, whoa, whoa. Don't leave me out, Tokyo. Melancholic Tokyo night, oh, whoa, whoa. Melancholic Tokyo night, oh, whoa, whoa. Melancholic Tokyo night, oh, whoa, whoa. Don't leave me out, Tokyo. That's how it goes. That's how it goes. That's the chorus. And so like maybe you say, hey Connor, that's actually not so bad. Well, let me tell you this. This chorus plays 4 times throughout the entire song. There are only 2 verses, 2 pre-choruses, 1 bridge, and the outro. This chorus takes up so much of the song that it's all I can walk away with it from. I refuse to do the math on a really bad song like this, but it feels like to me that it just takes up at least half of like the actual runtime of the song, and it is just, God, man. Like, how do you go from that first song to like this? I just don't get it. Now, I don't plan to go low and go into length about how, you know, Anon has this whole, what's a good word for it, scandal. You know, the scandal where he was like, I'm gonna cheat on my wife and also get away with it virtually scot-free as my mistress loses all job prospects for a few months and gets blacklisted in the industry until she eventually made her comeback. Good for her, by the way, because that's a whole character story arc that I could go into, but I don't think it's particularly pertinent here anymore. But it is for sure another reason why I consider myself an Anon hater, because like whenever he is a part of a new album release and it is so popular and it gets all this attention and praise in the Japanese mainstream music industry, I can only help but like wonder, is this really who you all want writing your love songs? I don't understand. Back to the album, I think my favorite song is probably the one called Boyfriend, though of course I do like Knocked, as I said. I just think that Boyfriend has some really cool guitar and drum work, and unfortunately, Anon offers up another trite falsetto performance on this song too, so take that how you will, which is not really a surprise because he's been using this same kind of enunciation and kind of like just singing style since forever, and I'm so over it, bro. Try something new, please. I'm begging you. Oh my god. So, all that said, I'm going to rate this album a 5. Are you surprised it's above a 2? I sort of was. I just feel like by Indigo Le standards that have been set over the past few years and releases, I think this album is a step in the right direction. Although I don't love the prevalence of Anon's vocals and lyricism, that's unfortunately just something I need to live with as a listener of this band. And also Anon, if you're watching for any reason, the singer of Daughter A, Race, has worked with you for so many years on so many choruses and so many background vocals, okay? She sounds fantastic, and judging by her current musical output, she should have a lot of free time on her hands. Anon, I'm begging you, let her be the new lead vocalist of Indigo Le. I would be so much more interested in the music if she was the front woman for the band, and if you could just find it in your heart to make this a reality for me, I would buy all of your music forever. I just need you to take a step back, chill for a little bit. Obviously, you can still be in the band, but just let someone new have the reins for a little bit just to add some spice back, because everything here is just so bland and diluted, and I know you can do better. We all need you to do better. We need you to fall on your sword just this once. And I think this would be a very successful move for you and the band, and for Reese too, because like I said, she doesn't seem to really be doing anything right now. I know he's not watching, but if he was, I hope that warmed his heart or something. Thank you for managing to make it through my kind of Anon tirade here. It means a lot, and I really hope you walk away with something from this video too. I think you should check out this album. I feel like if you're not a fan of Indigo Le, you actually might like this because you aren't so used to the same song over and over and over for the past 13 years. So I think you actually might like it if you're not a fan of the band. And if you are, maybe you still do like it. Or maybe you're just as tired as I am, because I know I am. That's a 5 out of 10. I hope their next release, which would probably be next year, is even better, because I think they're maybe back on the up and up, but we'll see. So thank you for watching, and have a good rest of your day.